Konnichiwa. My name is Chris Skinner, and I'm the author of Doing Digital, which I'm delighted has been translated into Japanese by Mitsubishi Research Institute and published by Kinsei. I'm thrilled to have my book in Japanese and recognize that this is a great honor. So, arigato gozaimasu. As mentioned, I've written many books, but I also write a blog every single day at thefinancer.com, which I've been doing for over 10 years. And before that, I was working as a technologist in the financial services industry, which more recently has become quite a cool thing because it's now called FinTech. And as you will know through FINOLAB and other organizations, there's an awful lot of interest in FinTech and investment in FinTech. And I was delighted when my friend Makoto Shibata-san invited me to become a global advisor of FINOLAB in 2019. And I'm delighted to be part of that structure and organization. And you can find out a lot more about me at chrisskinner.global. The new book, Doing Digital, is all about how banks can actually get into digital transformation successfully. And it's a huge challenge because most banks are actually very much organized around the old analog industrial world of physical interaction around paper, checks, cash, branch operations, doing transactions, bills of lading, letters of credit, invoices, receivables, payables, you name it. And it was all organized in an old structure of paper distribution. And now there's this new world of the internet and specifically cloud native companies that have developed in the last decade around the internet and the mobile first generation that demand banks become truly digital. And by truly digital, I mean digital at the core of their operation, not just something they've added on, which is the way in which most banks approach these things. And about 3 years ago, I got quite annoyed about the fact that people said banks are so bad at this, because I thought they can't all be terrible. There must be some good banks out there. And I wrote a list of the banks that I thought of a major size would be interesting to talk to about doing digital transformation. And that list ended up being 5 of the top 50 banks by valuation: JP Morgan Chase, BBVA, ING, China Merchants Bank, and DBS. And I spent a year talking to these banks, interviewing their executive team about how they were doing digital, and ended up with around 40 things that they told me that are the lessons from these leaders if you are trying to do digital transformation in your own bank. It's not an ABC or a 1, 2, 3 of doing it, but it's all the things that you need to understand to make this successful. And for me, this is a groundbreaking book because I've not seen anyone else really talking specifically about how to do digital transformation in banking in this way practically with concrete examples, which you'll find in this book. For me, it's an interesting time that we're going through, in that every institution, whether it's a very big bank or a small credit union, are challenged by this world of internet, digital, fintech startups and the whole world of open banking with APIs and apps and being cloud native. A lot of that is alien to all of us because we are bankers. And so the aim of choosing the biggest banks is that they have the biggest challenges, but the challenges and the lessons that I've shared in the book could equally apply to any size of institution in anywhere in the world. In fact, people have told me that it's not just something that's relevant to banks, it could equally apply to telecoms companies, airlines, retailers, manufacturers, almost any industry. But I stay to my focus, which is technology and finance, which is why it's purely about what banks have to do, no matter how big or small, to change to the world of digital and the internet era. So the book was planned for a big launch in the USA for the English version during the summer of 2020. And obviously, all of that disappeared when the coronavirus pandemic impacted everybody everywhere, such that we all are now working from home, doing video calls and communicating and living on the internet. Our entertainment, our services, the way in which we do everything is now 100% digital, because it has to be. In every country in the world, people are moving away from cash to using mobile apps and online services as the way in which they do finance and payments. And I think that's interesting because it's really made the digital transformation imperative much higher for every institution, particularly the banking institutions. And we haven't, I think, stepped up to the challenge of that digital transformation particularly well. A lot of people say we were surprised how well we've done this, actually, Chris, because our employees are working from home, using the cloud to access customer records to service customers who are also getting service from home. But what they've actually done is they've maybe moved some of their operation to cloud usage, but not digital transformation. There's a big difference, because using the cloud is just another add-on. It's not actually changing the business model of the bank. And that's where I come from. You have to change the business model of the bank. And I think what's interesting for everybody right now is that if this lockdown lasted forever, what would be your business model for your bank? And that's the business model you should build, because that is the digital business model that you adjusted to in 6 months. But could you adjust to that model forever? If not, then you're not digital. You have to build that model. So my first visit to Asia was actually to Hokkaido in the 1990s. And at the time I was working with NCR, the ATM company. And I remember very much the meetings I had with my Japanese colleagues. And someone made a comment to me that they really like the fact that I'm British, because we are an island nation like Japan. And unlike Americans, my accent is easier to understand. I don't know if that is still true, but I have very fond memories from my first visit to Japan. I've been many times since, and I really look forward to coming back, and particularly because in 2020, in April, I was meant to come and see the cherry blossoms in bloom. I have to do that soon, as I've always missed them just by a day or two. So next year, I hope to come back to Tokyo and see the cherry blossoms. Thank you very much for your time. Arigatou gozaimasu once again.